can you hear me? Yeah. All right, great. Hi, my name is Carly Ho. I'm here to talk to you about being on the other side of the table. I am often in the position of interviewing candidates for jobs at my workplace, Click Studios, where I am a senior engineer and the onboarding captain. You can find me on Twitter at Carly M. Ho. I've already posted the slides there if you want to follow along. I'm also on Mastodon at carly@kitty.town, and you can find my website at carlymho.com. Now, so I'm going to start out by reassuring you that when I am sitting at a table across from you or someone like you interviewing you for a job, I really want to hire you. I'm not there to be like, where are all the minute flaws in this person? I'm not there to pass judgment. I'm not like weighing your soul. I want you to show me the best things about yourself so I can be really excited about the great candidate possibilities that we're looking at for whatever role we direly need to fill, because I work at an agency and we're constantly suffering. So I'm going to start out by talking about what we're not looking for. So what aren't we looking for when we're interviewing candidates? This isn't like what is a deal breaker, but what's like, but there's a lot of things where I see people who clearly think that we're definitely looking for like some criteria that they were told at one point was super essential to a job interview process that I really don't care about. So what we're not looking for, a huge breadth of knowledge or a huge depth of knowledge. So the thing is, for those of you who are looking for your first dev job or generally applying to junior dev roles, we're not, at least speaking for myself, we're not expecting you to be a genius. We're not expecting you to be a subject matter expert. If you are really excited about a particular topic that you've gotten really into in your learning process, that is great, and absolutely tell us about it. But you know, it would be totally unrealistic for us to expect you to need to know everything about whatever you happen to be applying for. Because when you're coming in at the ground level, we're hoping that you are here to grow rather than to just, well, be a senior engineer like me. So, you know, takes time. So another thing we're not looking for, memorization. I know there are a lot of places that still do whiteboarding interviews and expect memorization and want you to be able to recall what like every function name is off the top of your head and spit out algorithms. And the thing is, I don't know why. I don't know why they do it that way. Honestly, I think it's kind of silly. And the thing is, a lot of us work on internet stuff. We're always going to be connected to the internet. You're not going to be stranded on a desert island needing to program an application or like the world will end. So you can honestly like feel okay about not having everything memorized. I look stuff up all the time. I constantly forget the difference between, it's the length functions between different programming languages because I'm flipping between them all the time. So we're also not looking for super specific ways of solving problems or knowing the new hotness in frameworks. So like that stuff, like the best practices change all the time. You can't really be expected to know like what is be really up to date on the new hotness. I don't even know what JavaScript framework is in vogue these days. If you're really interested in learning a particular framework or a way of writing code, that is super great. But also every workplace has its own opinions. And especially when you're looking for your first dev job, that's an opportunity to learn some flexibility and try out some things that you might not have necessarily been drawn to immediately. Because there are places that, whereas like, there's Ruby, which is super hot, but also like, I work at a PHP shop. There's always going to be, use for PHP for the near future. So basically, you're being able to get experience in doing anything and being able to feel comfortable working in a wide variety of environments. That's going to be an asset to you. And I think, and another thing we're not looking for is any specific credentials. So I know, we're probably gonna get a lot of, there's probably a lot of career changers here. Raise your hand if you're a career changer. Yeah, okay. And, the great thing about programming is that you can come to it from all kinds of backgrounds and not really be at a disadvantage. There's a huge number of people who are self-taught, who come out of boot camps, who have different science backgrounds and came to it through learning R or something and doing some kind of statistics science thing. Whether you have a college degree, a boot camp background, or if you're self-taught, you don't have to feel ashamed of that or try and hide anything about your background, as long as you feel excited about programming and are ready to do the work. And the last thing we're looking for is willingness to spend all waking hours on code. I, in fact, strongly recommend that you don't do that. For one thing, the more people are willing to do that, the more the rest of us have to do that. So we really discourage that in our workplace. We all leave at 5. And the thing is, when you are happy, well-rested, able to have a full life outside of work, that makes everyone better and gives you more perspective on doing work stuff, potentially. So now that we've covered that, what are we actually looking for? So number one thing that I really like to sort of see in a job interview is clear thought process and good communication. So we usually give people a short exercise to code out something from a design in a PSD or sketch file. So when people are coming in as juniors, I'm not expecting it to be perfect. I'm not even expecting it to necessarily be 100% finished. What I am looking for is being able to sort of articulate a thought process and talk about next steps if you didn't finish it. Because one of the most useful things, and that's going to be applicable for your entire career in a workplace, is being able to talk to people, being able to ask questions, and being able to document and explain and even explain your way through your problems and where you were getting stuck, because that's going to help in debugging stuff with your coworkers. Another big thing I look for is attention to detail and good judgment on what matters. And that can also include asking questions if you're not sure what matters, because that is a thing that I do at work all the time when I'm in project kickoff meetings. And there's really no shame in it, especially if you're just I'm not sure where to start or what to emphasize, because I do get a number of people who don't ask those questions and end up spending a huge amount of time, most of their project time, building an entire React app to shove this design into, and really I just give me the HTML and CSS was actually what we were going for. So, if you don't know, ask questions. If they give you an exercise, or if you don't necessarily understand what the interviewer is asking you about, if you're familiar with something, and be okay with being no, I haven't heard of that. You don't have to know, again, you don't have to know everything. We are, as a junior, it's great to focus on the basics, just having really good to strong basics in your front of the stack. I am generally interviewing front-end devs who are applying for jobs, and so the things that I consider as basics in that part of the stack, HTML, CSS, smattering of JavaScript, and if you're doing a programming language, I'm looking PHP, I'm looking for maybe if you know control flows, variable assignment, and how to create functions. You don't even need to know what a lambda is, because I only vaguely know what a lambda is. Where it's if you're coming in as a junior, having those basic stems is important, because that's what'll get you 90% of the way through a lot of stuff, honestly. And then the rest of it is things that we can teach you once you're on the job. If the company that you're applying to doesn't have an onboarding process, probably no one's going to have a good time there, is my personal opinion. If they're not going to teach you how to set stuff up and use the things, then I don't know why they're hiring people. And the last big thing is the ability to pick up new paradigms and techniques. When you're a junior dev and in your early career, it's really good to be flexible. It's also great to develop opinions, but the ability to be open to learning new things and to be able to change the way you work to fit with a new team's workflow. That is super important, considering that you have no idea what the next big thing is going to be. Like in 5 years, we may all be programming in some language where we, I don't know, type on crystals and then it displays visions in our head. I don't know. But yeah, we have no idea what it's going to be like in 5 years, because that's how computer stuff works. People are constantly developing new things and new technologies, and being able to learn and keep learning is so important. And then finally, I'll leave you with a few things not to do that have happened really to make you feel better about the fact that you managed to not do any interviews. So fall asleep in the interview. I got some of these, I crowdsourced this a little bit with some friends who also done interviews. Insult the kind of work your interviewer does. Throwing former employers or colleagues under the bus. You can say like you didn't quite agree with them, but if you wouldn't say it to like a client, don't say it to your interviewer. Being significantly late and not acknowledging it or apologizing for it. I will say this as someone who's been an hour late to an interview because I got super lost. If you tell them like what happened and like that you're running late, it'll be fine, more or less. But just, let them know. And not knowing anything about the company, like, know what their industry is, at least before you show up for the interview. And also making assumptions about the interviewer. I will admit that I don't necessarily tell people what my job title is when they come in for an interview, just to like see what they assume about me sometimes. Or it's like, do they think I'm a senior? Do they think I'm a junior? What do they, but yeah, so I think those aren't actually too hard. I think we can, all manage to show up to an interview and not fall asleep. So you're definitely doing better than someone already. And my last thought is, if you don't get picked, don't get discouraged. If you're getting to the interview stage, you're already doing great. At that stage, companies are usually picking between a lot of great candidates, and eventually you're going to get your turn. And my last tip, bring your best self. Don't worry about trying to be anyone other than who you are. Just bring all the best things about yourself to the table. And we'll all be excited to meet you.